post them in that album, and just, I think I've asked if you put the school name and what activity, whether it's planting or harvesting or the season, we can create a social media post of that picture for your school, highlight it, because we want to keep highlighting as many of our partners as possible. So that is in that group. If you have questions about that, you can let us know. The other thing is we are trying to make your lives as easy as possible. So previously, we would meet with everybody at the beginning of each season, right? So for the fall, that means like right when you start school, which is insane for all of you, right? Start of school is chaotic. So we tried this last year. We had a few schools. We are going to have the fall meeting in May for the next fall, right? So we understand you won't have exact class counts, and that's okay. You don't need exact class counts. But that gives you the opportunity to choose your crops and not have to worry about that, and then not let that be the holdup to starting your garden when you want to. Because then we can create your map, we can count out your seeds, we can get everything ready to go so that if you wanted to plant September 15th, we can have your stuff drop off to you. So you can plant September 15th versus trying to schedule a meeting when you're crazy with the start of school and then waiting on us to create your map and things like that. So we're hoping this will make it easier for everybody. So that link for the form, if you want to do it via Google form, is in the Schoology group or will be emailed to you. You can always meet us on Zoom. You can fill out the form and not meet us at all. Just do it all via electronic form. Whatever works best for everybody's schedule.
I'm gonna get jump scared.
Oh, right. Thank you. There's a video that's going to play as soon as Rachel's.
And also, also to touch on moving our garden coordinator meetings to, once you have a meeting and you said a certain thing, don't feel like you're locked in forever. You know, if you think start of the year that something else will work better, just let Jen and I know. We're totally flexible until you have those seeds and maps to change whatever. It just helps us get a jump start on your year before we start. But I'm here to talk a little bit about garden maintenance. So at the start of every growing season, we're going to encourage you to go out and check almost all aspects of your garden. Really just a visual inspection of everything. But I'm going to kind of break down exactly what we want you to be looking at. So in each of our garden, we want to look at our equipment. Your tools, your gloves, your shed, or storage bin. See if there's anything missing, if there's any damage, if there's anything that needs to be replaced. If we get an early start on knowing what you'll need, particularly in the future, we can start to look for funding, look for support to help replace your things. A lot of things we might just be able to replace with our current funders. So if you notice anything missing or that you would like or anything on the verge of breaking, earlier the better on telling Jen and I. Again, you can use Schoology or you can just shoot us an email. We want you to check out your irrigation system. So sometimes the orchard tubing is really touchy. Sometimes things break. Sometimes little pests come in and chew your little drip lines. So please do a visual inspection. Make sure your orchard tubing doesn't have any bends, cracks, or breaks in there. They haven't popped off their sockets at all. Look at your your drip lines to make sure there's not any nicks or cuts, which sometimes can happen with harvesting. We have scissors out there. Make sure that you're not seeing any little bite marks. I've seen a lot of mice down south eating our stuff. And then when you're setting up your irrigation, I'm just going to briefly go through some of the key components of our irrigation setup so everyone's kind of on the same page. So when we're connecting our, I'm going to kidnap that, thank you. I forgot the power. Just a reminder. Anyone Brian didn't blind? I can get to this time. So when you're connecting to the building, you, for the typical garden, are going to have a Y connector. And on that Y connector, one of your little arms is going to be connected to your timer. For that timer, when you first place it on, you're going to want to have it run twice a day or every 12 hours. You're going to want to have it run for about 25 minutes. And as you go through those little clicks on your circle, please make sure that your time is accurate and then you have it set for a good time that works We typically suggest 6 a.m. Because then it will go off at the start of the day, it'll go off at the end of the day, and no one's going to be really interrupting it. After 2 weeks after your watering group is completed their watering cycle, you're going to go ahead and switch this over so it only waters once a day for 40 or 45 minutes. So that way you just have to worry about one watering. And the other side, you're going to hook this side up to your hand watering cart. So that is what your hand watering group is going to be using. And then we recommend kind of keeping it up the whole time. So when you have your harvest, if you need to use that water for root veggies, you can. I do understand also some people like to take it away so no kids get their hands on it when they don't need to. When you are messing with these guys, it's really important to make sure that the valves are open. A typical rule of thumb is when you have a valve on there, if it is parallel with the source underneath, that is water going through. If it is perpendicular, usually that stops the water. I would recommend kind of taking a peek at your system, running it once you set it up to make sure that's accurate. But it is important that these remain open, that way water goes through them. A timer without any water does nothing. Finally, I'm going to let Theonda, our founder, explain attaching our drip lines to our hoses.
Opposite of righty, tighty, lefty, loosely.
Oh, it started in the middle. Hold on. There you go.
This hose has popped off. So what you need to do is you need to open this collar. When you're standing in this position, it's the opposite of righty, tighty, lefty, loosely. You're going to put the hose back on so that it goes completely over the ridges. And now you are going to turn the collar so that it's all the way forward and gently tighten. And now pull on the hose and make sure that it's really connected.
I know that is a common problem. A lot of times our drip lines pop off. No big issue. You can just go ahead and pop it on. If you notice that they're still struggling to stay on, just let me know or Jen know. Sometimes we just have to replace the drip line because it gets stretched out. And finally, soil levels. As you are opening up your garden, it's totally normal for your soil levels to go down, especially if you've kind of settled over the non-growing period. But if it decreases to a level where you think it needs to be replenished, please let Jen and I know. We have resources that we can help replenish your soil. That way it's nice and healthy, and we can keep growing in them.
And we typically recommend that you replenish every other year. So typically in the spring is when we would recommend new compost and soil added, but if it needs it prior to that, let us know.
As you close down your gardens, it is very important that we keep our landscape fabric on top of it. I know sometimes the wind likes to pick it up, yank it off. Even some neighborhood friends will come by and yank it off for fun. So please, throughout the year, if you're around, just keep checking on that, make sure. That or the maintenance crew over the summer, if you could just ask them to keep an eye on it. It's super important because if these get uncovered, weeds take over. They love that soil, and they do such a good job at taking over the garden. So just keep an eye on it. And finally, pest control. So now that we know the good and the bad that we should be looking out for, if you notice anything, not just our insects, but also any furry friends that you notice signs of, please let Jen and I know as soon as possible. We have some tips and tricks, and we will suffer with you. So please let us know, and we can help you through it.
Thank you. Okay, the last thing is volunteer engagement. So this should not fall on just you. It doesn't have to be a one-person job. It's not your responsibility only to open and close your garden every season, and we don't want it to become overwhelming. There are lots of resources. You have parents coming to your schools every day. If your school has a lot of walkers, grab your parents when it's time to close the garden who have already walked to the school to pick up their children and ask them to help you for 20 minutes. I predict that you will easily find just a couple of parents. It really does just take 20 minutes with 4 or 5 adults. The other thing is PTAs, PTOs. Ask them to sign up to either help with weeding your garden once things start growing, or help with the opening and the closing of the garden, because again, you just need 20 minutes of their time. So I don't want this to become overwhelming for any of our garden coordinators. I want you to make sure that you're asking for help from your school community, other staff, the parents, PTOs, PTAs. If your garden has not been adopted, some of your gardens have been adopted by corporate partners, and they have some volunteers that will come and help. But if it hasn't, if there's a local company and maybe their employees are looking to volunteer for an hour here or there, they are another potential source of volunteers. So if you are definitely running into trouble, reach out to us. We can give you suggestions or help find volunteers, but it definitely should not rely all on one person. You are the liaisons to us for the programs, but that doesn't mean you have to do everything.